Hey everybody, welcome to this fabulous Electronic Cafe interview episode. Mark and I have just had the good fortune to have a great chat with Miki, Kevin and Ollie for MB3. Ollie you'll know from Aircooled, obviously Miki Berenyi needs no introduction. And great chat, really lovely people. And the album is sounding fantastic. The first couple of singles we've heard, mate, it's sounding very promising, isn't it?
It does sound fantastic. I mean, Ollie sent us for a track about a year ago. And yeah, we've been really fortunate. I mean, not only do we speak to these like really big names, and we've spoken to the Thomas Dolbys, the Vince Clarks, and the Midures. I mean, part of the setting up this channel was to highlight and to introduce people like, you know, new bands, up and coming bands, new music, saying, you know, check this out. And this is a prime example. I mean, MB3 producing great music. Everybody knows Lush, everybody knows Aircooled, but it's kind of like another project where we're saying, have a listen to this. Dive in and tell us what you think.
Three very smart, cool people, at the top of their game with their craft. So, it's a fascinating conversation. And as Mark says, a great album. So, everyone, have a great listen and enjoy this conversation Mark and I had with MB3.
We were supposed to support you once at the Mean Fiddler.
Oh,
It's
a long time to pick this bone with you.
Yeah, I said to myself, if I ever speak to Miki, I'll have a word.
Twist and shout, plastic seas, plastic lies, plastic trees, plastic wines, plastic lies. You can't see what I see, I'm gonna have to spell it out. Skeletons of...
Hey everyone, welcome to an awesome episode edition of the Electronic Cafe. Today we are joined by the awesome Miki Berenyi, our good friend Ollie Shearer from Aircooled, and Kevin Kellop. So welcome to the EC guys. It's so great to have you here to talk about the MP3 release.
Hello.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
Hello.
Great to have you. And you know, you guys must be, there's a real buzz, you know, the album Tripla's coming out soon. I mean, I think we was talking a little bit earlier, Mark was saying the singles are creating a real buzz. You must be really happy with the kind of buzz that's coming up for this album coming up.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It's even, you know, even the other night we were just sitting around having dinner and chatting and we were listening to Six Music and the song came on the radio unexpectedly. You know, you just rush to the computer, turn the music up and start.
Good old Gideon Code.
Good old Gideon Code.
Yeah. The singles of it, I mean, they're fantastic. Can't wait for the album. Really can't.
And the album comes out on the 4th of April, and 3 singles have preceded the album, and you're doing a record signing tour or appearances, and a tour following it. I mean, very exciting times to be getting out there playing it live.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole album was written to play live. Really, that's how it came to be an album. So yes, of course, it's great. That's where those songs live in my head. You know,
the MB3 journey. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. It started officially with sort of some reworkings of Miki, your great Lush records. So that's kind of, how did that all come about, and how did that become the catalyst for where you are now?
Because I did the book, and then I did
this little beauty.
that little beauty. Yes,
yeah, I love it.
That, and then there's quite a lot of book talks. I didn't realise, you know, that there was that many. So, but you know, when you do these live appearances, they actually do quite like it if you can play a few songs. That's why we kind of got together at the beginning and started, you know, we did like 4 Lush songs or something, didn't we? Right, yeah. But I think even then, you know, because there's no drummer, because we were kind of doing backing tracks, because there was, you know, it's a different lineup. There's no point in trying to replicate exactly what was from the past. So already we were sort of playing a bit with those songs and making them our own. Like I said to Moose, don't bother just... You don't have to do exactly what Emma did. Just make your own fucking stuff up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That way.
So then once we were actually writing together, kind of reworking those tracks, then, I mean, I'm not going to lie, we got quite good feedback. People were like, oh, it sounded really good. You should carry on. And so...
Well, my memory is that the second time we did that down at Resident, when Simon Raymond was interviewing you, he came up afterwards and said, they've never sounded better. You should record those. So that I mean, that kind of feedback straight off the bat is,
which is how this little beauty came about.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Hence,
Signed copy.
I feel left out. So. But also, I mean, it's got like from a Dead Star on that EP, which I was really pleased that was on there. I think that's my favourite Lush song. I love that song. It's a really good version.
pitch it down a bit. I'm not going to lie. It's not. It's in a different key.
I cling to him and pray, but still he slips away. And now it's just too late to wish him back.
But have you guys always known each other? I mean, when you the genesis of it was the book and coming together to play the songs. I mean, has there been a connection with you guys throughout the years? I mean, you knew each other beforehand, or how did you get together?
Not for long. I mean, I got drafted into the last version of Piroshka just to cover for Mick, who'd broken his arm and stuff. So I met these two. I'd actually met you before. I think I did an opening for.
We did a show at the Sailing Club. I think that was when we first met you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so you were when we had like half a PA.
They blew up my PA. Piroshka came and played in St Leonard's.
Don't look at me.
Blew up my PA.
Everyone's looking at you, Mickey.
So they limped through the gig. Actually, you didn't limp through the gig. It was a really good gig, but you did it with half a PA. So yeah, that's actually when we met a few years ago. But then realistically, it's when I joined Piroshka for the last tour. And then the book stuff happened, within a year or so of that.
Yeah.
And Mickey just said, do you want to come and help do this? So that's and then, the book stuff and the covers, that's how it happened. And gradually, we were being offered bigger shows where we actually needed more than 4 songs.
Yeah.
So we had to write some.
I know you sent me the Vertigo track about a year ago, Ollie, which was the first single that came off the album.
Yeah.
And I mean, subsequently, you toured the States. You played some dates with Budgie and Lowell Tolhurst. I mean, they must have been amazing shows. I mean, I know Susie was kind of like quite a influential character in your growing up and like being in bands early doors. But I mean, it must have been great touring with Budgie and Lowell.
Yeah,
It was really good fun.
it was a bit pinch me, wasn't it?
It was a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the last song of the last show in New York, and they just came up on stage, sat behind the drums, and joined in with us. And that was I kept having to look around, thinking, "Don't forget this moment. Don't forget what this feels like. This isn't going to happen again."
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I heard a Creatures song the other day, which I haven't heard for years, and it was basically just Budgie and Susie. There was no music to it. It was just all rhythms, and it was like the sonics of it was amazing.
And he's also amazing to watch. I mean,
Of course.
watching a big spider behind is fantastic.
Yes, he's quite flamboyant, isn't he?
He is.
And both him and Lowell were really sweet. They were really good fun to tour with.
Yeah, absolutely.
My head is dread, my heart is doubt. Chase away my need for sleep. Breathe out, breathe in.
was just thinking, like, you know, it's Mark saying you're on this tour, you did the 4 tracks and stuff, you realised you had to do more. So how did you fit in writing Tripla in between all that? I mean, because there was so much going on beforehand. So when did you actually start writing the album? Was it just before the tour or straight after? Or
it wasn't actually like back in the day. You would have gone off to a studio for, I don't know, a month or 6 weeks and recorded an album that, you know, of songs that you'd like routined and in the studio and then worked with a producer. But I think, like a lot of bands these days, because the technology is so available and relatively easy to use, not for me because I'm a bit of a Luddite, but it was a lot more piecemeal. So it's kind of like it's a song and then another song and then they get added to the set. And after a while, you realise you've got an album's worth of material, almost by accident. Yes, I think we knew early on that we wanted to record an album, definitely.
Well, I think it became obvious that the whole thing had momentum, it had legs, that we hadn't perhaps planned for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there isn't a point where anything changed. It's all these things are always bit of this, bit of that, and gradual. But yeah, that's Mrs. Right. I think that. I
mean, we keep using the word organic when we talk about it, but it was a genuine kind of like slow, natural development. And the next thing you know, there are only 1 or 2 Lush songs in the set, and there are 8 or 9 MB3 songs plus a Piroshka song or whatever. And basically, as Ollie mentioned earlier on, you know, all of the songs are written to play live. They weren't kind of studio entities. It was the idea that we've got another gig in a couple of weeks. Is there anything that's kind of work in progress that we can actually slightly road test? And so most of the songs were I mean, I would say 6 out of the 9 songs were road tested live. And, you know, for the last year, possibly 6-9 months a year, we've been playing the whole album live. You know, it's not one of those albums where you go, oh, we can't possibly do that one. It's a bit tricky. It's a bit weird. It's a bit ambient. All of the songs we've been playing live for a long time now, and they've been properly road tested.
Well, songs kind of change, don't they, when you play them live? I mean, me and Andy were in bands for years. I mean, Andy was very impetuous. Like, we used to write a song in the rehearsal room, and we had to play it live the next time we played it. But by the time we actually recorded it, it had changed so much since the writing, playing it live, and it just kind of fell into its own space, you know. And
I think that's what's happened with these. They written to play live, but then you play them live and then you finish the recording. It's none of this is done in one hit. There's a bit of that, bit of toing and froing, and they gradually find their shape. So I think that the album does sound like the way we play them live, pretty much, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always a bit tricky because Moose uses these incredibly tricky chords with the capo, like fucking 3/4 of the way up the neck, which on a 12 string, when you're actually trying to sing as well, is completely fucking impossible for me. So
sorry.
They end up being sort of slightly simplified when we do those live.
The interesting thing as well is that, I mean, the songs have got a very ethereal feel to it, but equally, there's 3 songwriters like in the band. Do you all have your own songs and you bring it to the collective and then you work on it? Or like you've got your own projects, or you know, jamming in a room doesn't exist anymore, does it really?
No,
it doesn't for us. That's verboten.
Yes, yeah, we were talking about this the other day. Jamming is it's a dirty word.
So you all work individually. You've all got your ideas, and you take it to the band and go, "Look, I've got an idea," and then it's kind of like yes or no, and then you kind of develop it from there. Or are they pretty much formed when they get?
It varies. It varies. I mean, I think we've kind of established that on this record, Moose's songs are mostly quite complete by the time they come to us. He works on them, hones them for a long time, and then they come to us sort of complete. Then it's just a question of like arrangement, really, but the song is kind of written. You've had a couple like that. I think mostly mine have been half written, probably. And I found that I quite often don't bother writing a lyric. I just, a la 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 and let Miki write
See,
about what she
I'm
wants.
going to change it.
Yeah, exactly. It's my time.
Do you know what? I've actually played the original version of Vertigo the other day.
Oh yeah.
Which was a song called Paper Doll, and I thought, I did keep the breathe out, breathe in.
That's right. That's right.
bit.
3 words. Good words though.
Different times, no more danger. You tell me the world is waiting. I see history repeat itself. Same old story, just different lies.
As an example, Ollie, I mean, you write for Aircooled as well. If you write a song, do you go, that would fit better with Aircooled, that would fit better with MB3? I mean, you kind of know.
The Stock Aitken and Waterman of Glennon. That was Carly. Which band?
Yeah, you should hear my Rick Astley stuff. That rarely happens because they're really quite different, and so usually you're writing specifically for one or the other. I can think of one instance where I had a song and I really liked it and I didn't know which way it was going to go, whether it be an Aircooled one or a trio one, and I think it went to Aircooled in the end, but it was the right thing to do.
Here's the thing that you have to do next time. You've got to write one where you send it to both.
Okay.
And then see what it will be like.
Oh,
was
the
that
Buzzcocks?
Yeah.
Lipstick?
Yeah.
And Shot by Both Sides.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
who comes up with the most money for it? Who bids it?
Okay, well I can answer that one.
Yeah.
Neither. Right.
Like talking of Lush, just for a little while. I mean, I guess you get pretty bored of this, Miki, but yeah, I mean, you was kind of like in the middle, like that period, sort of like, was it 92 to 96? It was in the middle of kind of like lad culture and Britpop, and it was the Wild West, really, the music industry around about that time. I mean, what was your experiences of it? I mean, has it haunted you, or are you happily out of it now and doing what you do in a different way?
The thing is when Lush started, it wasn't like that. It was, independent music. I mean, you could go and see My Bloody Valentine every week. It wasn't like, there was lots of bands playing gigs. Everyone had a kind of counterculture sort of mentality. It was quite anti-star, you know what I mean? Nobody wanted to be like in the tabloids, or no one was sitting there doing interviews going, we're going to be playing Wembley in a year's time. It just wasn't like that. And that kind of crept in later, I think, when, everything went very major label and the money sort of flooded in. And it did just, I think, because indie just became the mainstream, like in America, alternative became the mainstream. And the whole attitude changed, I think. So it was rapid, but it wasn't overnight. Like, you could see it coming. Suddenly the NME were like, oh right, so they're going to put the fucking Spice Girls on the cover now, and it was that sort of like, okay, so this feels weird, because it feels like independent music is just being kind of like dug, I don't know, it's been kind of mined. And then by the time you get to like the mid-90s, like, bands are just being dropped if they don't get a top 10 single. Even with the album recorded, they're like, well, that didn't chart, so you're dropped, Not what independent music was about at all.
Yeah. You were with 4AD, I think, in the beginning, right, Mickey? Which is, with Ivo Watts and stuff. So, real good label to be with.
Yeah. And, bands on 4AD put out, I mean, I know everybody sits there now and goes like, oh, Cocktail Twins, legend, and they know all the albums. But there's some fucking weird albums that they put out.
Yeah.
that they were allowed to put out. It
Oh,
wasn't.
we love them.
I mean, this Mortal Coil and all their stuff on that came out. I mean, that was kind of quite avant-garde in places.
Very much so, and also a very unusual concept that you've got the record label boss who chooses some of his favorite songs and then gets his entire roster, different musicians from different bands, to get together and record them. I mean, it's utterly, I mean, it's unique.
Did anybody, I think that occurred to me before, did anybody sort of rebel over that? Did anybody say, I'm not doing that?
Do you know what? I think
Gossip.
it got a little bit
Like up.
after Song to the Siren.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think that famously was, it ended up being the song that kind of really popularized Liz as a vocalist. And I think that was quite difficult for
other people.
the band. I mean, Robin certainly didn't really like it, not least because she got paid absolutely fuck all, like she got a session fee.
Yeah.
But I think Simon Raymond was quite integral to this Mortal Coil record. He was like the main constant through a lot of it.
Bands like, for example, the Wolfgang Press.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't want to say lesser, but the kind of like the less famous bands on 4AD, where that might have been a way in for people to find out about other bands on the label. And just going back to 4AD, the fact that bands like the Wolfgang Press, who I absolutely love, were able to just keep putting music out, even though, and some of the especially the later stuff, which is much more dancey and much more commercial in many ways. This is a band that should have had hits. I mean, it was as good as anything that was around at the time. But the idea that once you were on 4AD in the 1980s, you weren't gonna get dropped. You weren't gonna be pushed off the roster just because the last album didn't quite cut it. But it was excuse me, was definitely something that was more about creativity and it was artist driven. I think that was really cool.
In the mid-90s, me and my mate got signed making dance music to Polydor, but not a huge amount of money, but it was like, I think it was a 5-album contract that cost us a fortune to have kind of looked at by a lawyer and so on. And we got dropped after one single.
Climbing stairs and ladders, the mountain in the distance. Take aim at the sun and shoot. Existence is persistence. I never got what I came for. That's the bitter
I just remember the amount of work and the cost of getting a lawyer to go over this thing that lasted literally 3 months. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I mean, now you're on Bella Union. I mean, Simon Raymond, obviously Cocteau Twins and everything. I mean, 4AD and Bella Union are probably two of our favourite labels. I mean, currently Bella Union are putting some great stuff out. I mean, Humanist as well, Ollie, who Rob Marshall down your way. I mean, he's on Bella Union as well. It's a great label.
Yeah, it's great because he runs the cafe at the station on the way to work in my record shop. So while these deals were happening, I'm going in, getting a double espresso. I said, what's he said to you? Has he said anything to you? Have you signed anything yet? It's great.
He's a lovely guy, Rob.
We spoke to Rob a couple of times, and I mean, he's a really nice guy, and he makes a good coffee as well, I hear.
He does. He's very good, yeah.
And I think also Bella Union is, in some ways, a continuation of 4AD. The ethos, I mean, Simon will go with what his heart is telling him, and then stick with the band. So they've got a massive roster. Because Simon will always give people time and space, and so it is. There is a continuation in my mind, anyway.
I mean, all the artwork that we've had done is Chris and Martin, which are 4AD design royalty, really, right? So it's like a little 4AD fantasy for me. It's great.
Guys, like, obviously, we know you guys from all your different bands you've been in, Moose, etc. But what were your influences growing up? I mean, I know Mark mentioned you, Mickey, Susie, but for the three of you, what were the kind of bands that made you sit and go, I want to do this?
I mean, my honest answer when people ask me that is it's not actually the kind of Susies and the sort of really great bands, because I would go and see those and think, well, there's no fucking way I can do that. My answer is that all the shit bands I saw third on the bill at the Clarendon, where I'd watch them and I'd think, well, I can fucking do that. So,
love it. What about you, Kev?
I think, I mean, I'm in my early 60s now. And so for me, if I really think back to when I was in my late teens and early 20s, it was that mostly that sort of post-punk from sort of like 79 up to early 80s. And that covers everything from, I don't know, from Simple Minds, for example, or the Associates. We've been talking a lot about the Associates recently. But there was a real golden era in the early 80s of alternative, if you want to use that word, alternative musicians making amazing pop music. And whether that could be Soft Cell, for example. I think of they had a run in sort of like 81, 82 of just releasing amazing singles. So I would say that for me, that period is, I mean, obviously I've always been a music fan. I still go to gigs and buy records and buy the T-shirt, that kind of thing. But so I'll never stop being a fan. But those formative years, I would say, would be the 79 to about 82, 83 is when you think, not kind of like third on the bill or whatever, maybe third on the bill at the Clarendon, but I think I'd like to do that. I think that this is what I want to do. A lot of it was actually poppy, quite charty, like I say, Soft Cell or the Associates or Simple Minds or whatever.
Yeah, there was so much diversity around that period of time. I mean, I'm nearly 60, Andy's 61, 62. I mean, we're of that era too. But I mean, if you watch one of the old Top of the Pops, say for 81, there's so much diversity on there between, I don't know, you might get a bit of Joe Dolce, but then you might get Ultravox or Soft Cell or Simple Minds or U2 or like this. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I think also, just going back to what Mickey was talking about in the 90s, where, you sign a band, it doesn't work, we're not even going to put the album out. That mentality, and all of these bands, when you go back to someone like, let's talk about Simple Minds, for example, they were on Virgin. This is a major label that picked them up relatively early in their career, and stuck with them. I think it was New Gold Dream was when they first had hits, but they had albums out on Virgin before that with absolute bangers on them. And so the idea that you can see some kind of longevity in a band, and there was a bit more loyalty and trust involved. And I mean, 15 years later, that I think had disappeared. But the idea that you could develop, you could progress, and know that you would be supported. I think that was a good period for, I mean, we're indie heads, like overall, but there was a time where major labels were doing some really, really good things.
100% agree.
And who are your influences, Ollie? I mean, I don't think I've asked you that in the past. I mean, like, what was you listening to, kind of like in your formative years?
Whether I should tell you the truth or not.
Birdie song.
Go on, spill the beans, Ollie.
No, my first favorite record. I've still got it. I've still got the sellotaped together sleeve version. It was a Duke Ellington record in my dad's collection, and which I sort of played to death. One track in particular, I just couldn't get enough of. So that was my first. And then after that, I discovered Elvis a week before he died. And just those kind of things. None of this kind of groovy stuff, I have to say. My cousin came to visit, and he had a guitar, and I saw him play "Here Comes the Sun," which I knew, and that was the penny dropping.
Catalyst.
Oh my God! I mean, anybody can do this, right?
Yeah, except. Did you ever have a Beatles songbook? Not as fucking easy as you think.
No, I picked that up recently because Jean was learning the piano, and the chords are all bloody wrong. They're in the wrong key, and so on. And I found, in fact, my brother found an old Simon and Garfunkel for easy guitar thing, and he pointed out to me that I'd been through it and corrected it all over the place. So I guess I got into it in this sort of analytical way or something. But yeah, it was seeing Donny play "Here Comes the Sun," and then a few weeks later, I think I was on a German exchange thing with the school, and I found a guitar under the bed, and I pulled it out and taught myself to play "Here Comes the Sun," and that's my start.
Wow, that was your epiphany moment.
Yeah. Although I have to say that the thing that I always think of as the sort of start of everything for me, the point where I suddenly realised how you do this, was hearing "Just Like Honey" on Janice Long's show. And that was a proper light bulb moment going off. That's a life-changing.
Yeah. Miki, we need to talk about the book briefly. I mean, it was Rough Trade Book of the Year. It's a fantastic book. I mean, what prompted you to write it? Has there always been a book in you that you wanted to get out? I mean, my wife's writing a book at the moment, and it's kind of like quite a toil with manuscripts and rewriting and agents and things like that. I mean, was it therapeutic? I mean, was it? I mean,
first of all, I was approached to write it, so it's not like I had this idea or I had a book that I would then want it to get published. Pete Selby at 9/8, I think he was just setting up 9/8 at the time, so he was obviously kind of casting around for potential people to be on the imprint, and he just approached me, and it took me it's probably about 6 months before I kind of agreed. To be honest, it was partly because I was I was a sub at a magazine. The magazine folded, then it was bloody COVID. And in the end, I just thought, all right, fuck it, I'll do this, because this is not the time to go looking for a job. So it was slightly by default that I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. And then it kind of came from there. So it wasn't something that I massively had any kind of burning desire to do. But, and it's like an opportunity. Somebody asks you and they believe in you. And then you think, all right, well, maybe it's worth having a crack at it. I mean, it's not easy, is it? I think it's all very well saying write a book. But, my mate Lucy said, look, just don't get too clever. Just start at the beginning and splurge it all out and then kind of edit it, afterwards. So I probably cut about a third of it, because I did just kind of vomit it all out on the page, as it were.
Well, there's nothing more disappointing than when you read someone's autobiography when it's kind of like just a banal kind of standard thing. Whereas, like, I mean, yours is well written. It's kind of got a lot of honesty in it. It's got some great stories in it, and it's just a phenomenal read. I mean, it's a really, really good music book.
When I started out, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing, but I did know what I didn't want to do. And what I didn't want to do is have a load of, like, inverted commas, hilarious anecdotes about life on the road and how crazy it is to be in a band, because actually I've heard enough people sitting around in dressing rooms fucking boring each other witless with that stuff. And so, you know, it was more, and I did think, you know, I don't really read a lot of bios and things, so I read a lot of novels, and I quite like the idea of it being a bit like a novel. You know, you're following some protagonist, and it's why half the book ended up being about childhood. It's not even about the fucking band for a large proportion. Again, often it's the most interesting bit. The few bios I have read, I mean, there's one or two that I think are brilliant, but a lot of them, once they get to the band stuff, I think, oh, fucking hell, you know what I mean?
They're pretty much all the same. They've got stories, they've got the same arc to the narrative. You know exactly where they're going, and you know, it's the My Drug Hell or whatever it might be. You know, and frankly, had enough of those, done with those, and yours isn't. Yours is.
Ollie, obviously, I know you're still continuing with Aircooled. Miki and Kev, is there any Piroshka or Moose stuff going to resurface? Is it all focused on MB3 now?
I think it's, for the time being, it's all MB3. I mean, there certainly won't be a Moose reunion anytime soon, because, you know, Russell, the singer, lives in Portugal. Russell, the guitarist, lives in San Francisco. Nobody in the band has ever got in touch with anybody else saying, you know, why don't we get back together? Hey, let's put the band back together. There's been not even a sniff of that. And to be honest, I think we're all happy with that. And, you know, so there definitely won't be any of that there. In terms of Piroshka, in a weird way, this is kind of like taken the place of Piroshka. You know, again, Mick, the original bass player, he lives in America now. He moved there a few years ago. Justin is super busy. I mean, super busy with Aircooled, of course. But, you know, he plays drums in the Jesus and Mary Chain. He's like a real gun for hire. So he's permanently busy. I can't see at the moment. I can't see a third Piroshka album.
I mean, there's also so much of like the way that this band formed is out of practicalities. You know, it was certainly when we were doing those Lush covers, it was like, well, there's no point in getting a full band. Like, it's fine with three of us. But then even continuing on, you know, you sort of realise, well, if we get a drummer, it's going to double our costs. I mean, at the moment, we can just about squeeze into a rented car and, you know, stay at some mate's place in Wales or something, and the costs are very low. As we get a drummer, that's a van, that's an extra hotel, and that's another mate, blah, blah, blah. So actually, so much of the kind of formation of this band was the practicalities of just having it, the three of us, with the backing tracks, utilising what we have, like Ollie's studios, so that we can actually make those backing tracks. And it is kind of the only way it would work.
And it's really worked in our favour. You know,
being able to rehearse at the bottom of our garden. And stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like we have to, oh my God, with Piroshka, it was like booking a rehearsal, she getting all the gear up there, Justin and Mew having to come up from St Leonard's, Mick coming over from Suffolk, you know, it's a real bloody pain in the arse, you know, whereas this is like just so much more nimble and easy. And also because it all has to fit in with jobs. And, you know, we're going to do this like UK tour. Well, they're all at weekends. There's the odd Friday or Monday, because Moose has only got a limited number of days he can take off work, right?
Yeah.
So we can't go on some epic 6-week tour because we haven't got the days.
No, absolutely. That sort of nimbleness makes us really flexible. You know, we got offered some really lovely support tours quite early on in the career of the band. You know, with the Gang of Four and the Wedding Present. You know, and we kind of, you know, we show up, we set up in minutes, we play, we break the gear down in minutes. It's like a Formula One tire change. Honestly, it's like, you know. I'd love to see a tire change and then a video of us breaking our gear down.
It makes us a popular support act.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really convenient.
Yeah, they're totally. But it means that, you know, as Miki was saying, we just hire a car, bang all the gear in the back, and off we go.
Found myself deep within, but I was far too proud. Running through that door, I got lost in the crowd. Found myself deep within.
I mean, also, just as a sort of slightly jokey, but not jokey aside, not having drums on stage is fucking great, honestly. Not to have a cymbal right by my fucking left ear, drowning out my guitars is it's a joy. The drums are in the monitor in front of me. I can have them as loud or as quiet as I want.
Love that.
Again, God bless drummers, because they're wonderful people. Again, including both our son and Justin. But I can't go back to that. The ride cymbal and the splash cymbal and the crash cymbal and the 8 other fucking crash cymbals that drummers have. I don't know what it is about cymbals. It's just it's almost it's a bit like a drummer saying, "Don't forget that I'm here." I'm in the band too. It's like,
Yeah.
Guys, look, I've got a couple of fun questions for you. You've all got a table for 4, including yourselves. Who's your guests? So, dead or alive?
dead or alive musicians.
Whatever you want, mate. Yeah, table for 4 for you, Kev, for you, Mickey, and for you, Ollie. Who would they be?
Actually, last night we got back. We did some DJing up the road at the Piper, and I got back and Mickey went to bed, but I stayed up with a friend, and he was telling some really brilliant anecdotes about. I mean, he's my age. He's 62, and he was talking about the time that he met Lou Reed, and I was thinking, oh my God, he's such a spiky, or was such a spiky person, and he said that. He met him in a bar in New York in the late 80s, and they spent an afternoon together. And he said it's not what you think. He was charming and warm and engaging. And I thought, oh God! But we were talking about Neil Young last night, and I love Neil Young, and again a slightly awkward person, but definitely counterculture, alternative, and so I'm not into the idea of meeting your heroes or whatever, but I'd actually definitely have dinner with Neil Young. That would be a good one.
I'd have Michael Palin. I think I could just sit with Michael Palin and have a nice
and listen.
evening. Yeah.
What about you, Ollie? I can see your brain turning. I can hear it.
No. I keep thinking of people and rejecting them for just being too pretentious or whatever. I think probably Tina Weymouth. She's one of my reasons to be cheerful.
Yeah, it's a great show.
And I just think that might be quite nice.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
So Tina Weymouth, Michael Palin, and Neil Young around the dinner table. It'd be a pretty good night out.
Yeah, you got to have a raconteur. You got to have stories and travel and all that stuff as well. And along the same vein, just before you go off and enjoy your Sunday, what would your desert island disc be? One album. No question for me, and it's been this for probably 40 odd years. It's Forever Changes, Love. That for me is still my favorite record.
Great show.
Ollie, eat the gold, obviously, but I mean, you pass on that one.
I love it so much. I'm wearing a t-shirt.
Yes, I know. I noticed you've both got good t-shirts, but I particularly like yours.
Thank you, mate.
I like the SH 101, the Roland t-shirt. Yeah.
My first ever synthesizer.
Oh. I think, what was the question? Oh, yeah, Desert
Island disc. I know it's Sunday.
Sorry, I've got a very short, what's the name?
Easy. one record.
You can't. No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
You can't. But if ever I'm asked what my favourite album is, I always say, "Oh, that's a stupid question," but it's probably the first Television album or Bitches Brew. There you go. You
And it'll probably change tomorrow.
with Bitches Brew. It would drive you fucking insane.
I know.
So yeah, Television. There you go. Marky
All right, thank you, mate. Mickey, come on.
So hungover at the moment that I'm struggling to even conceive of, like, I'm just trying to think of an out, like, it would have to be the whole album then that you really love.
Yeah.
And it'll probably change tomorrow, but right now, if it was a desert island, this what would it be?
Your go-to album.
And maybe I would, you see, now I want to pick like a compilation album. That's the problem.
You can do that.
Yeah. Like, it would probably be that Simple Minds one, that Celebrate.
Okay.
When they put all the kind of
Old stuff.
well, they had like, yeah, because it had like I Travel and Changeling
Right,
and
Oh, they're really good stuff.
and all of those things, like, because they're kind of spread across all those albums. But I'd take that. There's all the bangers on one.
I feel like going back. I've got to go and work in the shop in a bit, but I might stick that on when I get there.
Yes.
New Gold Dream, obviously, that was full of chart hits and whatever, and had a big polished sound, but it was still brilliant. But the Sister Feelings Call and Suns and Fascination, you know, Theme for Great Cities, it's just astonishing. You know, it's absolutely. They made some amazing music. As again, going back to what I was saying, they made some amazing music that did not get in the charts, and they weren't, you know, jettisoned. You know,
it's like Sweating Bullet and The American. I mean, I mean, what a song that was. I mean, the last time I saw Simple Minds, there was a piss guy next to me, a couple of rows along, and I've never been as happy as him in my entire life as he was when The American played. Even with like the birth of my children, I've never been as happy.
Guys, listen, thank you so much. We'll see you at Rough Trade and we'll see you at the Moth Club.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So we'll come and have a hug and say hi, and it'd be brilliant to see you.
And I think the Moth Club is such a great venue, which is, as we know, under threat at the moment. There's petitions up to save it, to stop it being turned into empty luxury flats anytime soon.
Me and Andy saw a certain ratio there last year, and it was absolutely rammed. Great venue.
It's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, I hope it gets saved. Hopefully, gigs like this will help. Hopefully, so we will see you there, and I'm sure it'll be a full house. And yeah, we'll see you at Rough Trade in a few weeks.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Really lovely to see you. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Thanks soon. Bye.